in that promo video you had done.
By the way, this is a book called Stand Up to Cancel Culture. Church, Use Your Authority. Stephen Strang, not to be confused with Stephen Strange.
I understand. You said this has happened before. It sure doesn't seem in recent months for anybody to remember anything this bad in the past.
Jones.
Tell us about it.
Well, from a historical perspective,
yeah, we used to burn books all the time.
Tyrants and dictators have always tried to cancel the opposition.
Yeah, I agree. Hold on. Let's see.
Everybody says that you're a bizarre bunch of guys, but I think you look like you're all American and typical.
Hello, apple pie. The boy or girl next door.
Why would guys like you? I know you've been asked this before, but why would guys like you have problems with these religious groups? You look like God-fearing people. So.
It's the other way around. Religious groups have problems with us. We have no problem with anybody as long as I can talk and say it clearly. We've got no problems with anybody. If religious groups want to come, fundamentalists want to come to see the shows, fine with us. The problem is them. They have a problem with us.
Our fans have no problems. Everybody's happy.
Why is it that they have a problem?
Well, because they want to make a name for themselves and they want to get their names in newspapers. We spoke to one of those guys yesterday, and when we really asked him who he represented, he was a self-ordained minister in his own church. Well, why don't we all start churches and go stand on soapboxes and preach?
And make money tax-free. That's right. That's
Uh-huh.
Be sure to send your dollars to P.O. Box. I'm gonna fight Kiss and send them to hell. Bats Box 4 and send it to my name, Preacher Bob, B.O.B. You've heard that before.
So let's see here you go. Hold on.
There were picket lines in Nashville, a record-breaking protest in Little Rock, a standing room-only city council meeting in Corpus Christi.
Was that about cancel culture again?
Minneapolis, Dubuque, Chattanooga, and Bismarck, North Dakota. The protesters are mainly religious groups who have been trying unsuccessfully to get KISS concerts stopped because they say KISS promotes the worship of Satan.
This is one of the ways that the enemy is coming in to try to engulf the minds of these teenagers and win them over.
We make heroes out of these guys.
That's a good sample, guys. That was just a great moment. Just grab that and throw that in the middle.
And make them look like
just
something great when literally they're destroying this country.
Their music and their lyrics is espousing Satan worship and drugs among our kids, and you're looking at a preacher in Pine Bluff, Arkansas that's against it, and we're going to stand against it, and not just me, but in Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, California, the ministry's waking up and realizing that we need to stand against this evil.
I don't think we'd like those people to like us. They're strange. I mean, they really are weird, you know, but we don't get involved in that. We're a rock and roll band, and we're certainly not going to make a career of explaining what we do to anybody.
What they do, according to many Christian leaders, is use their evil-looking makeup along with lyrics such as I was raised by the demons and I'm king of the nighttime world to influence their fans to idolize the underworld.
I think they're trying to fill their auditoriums and fill their pocketbooks, what I think. And I think they're putting our kids on the block to do it. There are people
putting our kids on the block to do it. And by the way, I would just like to remind everyone that this is the original cancel culture. Everybody's saying that, like, the left better watch out because the cancel culture is going to come back to them one day. You guys are gonna have to deal with the cancel culture. They're gonna start canceling people on the right, and then it's gonna come back. The canceling of people on the right is largely blowback related to this shit back in the day.
Who really believe in what these guys have to say. That's the scary part. And if we come and actually start playing the game, we're going to lend more importance to these guys than they actually deserve. They are really small-time bozos who are warped, who are going to try to do the same thing that's been done to Elvis, which is burn his records, and to the Beatles. We figure we're in very, very good company.
KISS knows they can use the controversy. Their concerts have only been selling at 50 to 75% capacity, and their latest album, Creatures of the Night, is the poorest-selling album of their career. Poor sales and a disappointing turnout may well be the reason Kiss called off the tour midway through and retreated to a studio to cut
It also might have been because Vinny's a lunatic.
new album. Meanwhile, the controversy is also meaty material for a Christian ministry whose mainline membership is dwindling. Both sides claim that they'd like to meet and smooth things out.
No, they don't. Kiss you just played a quote where Kiss was like, we don't want to lend credence. These people are nuts.
The members of Kiss, I'd like to do that. I mean, I would, of course.
He almost said, I'm a fan. He almost said it.
That the only hope they have in their life is Jesus Christ, and that they have to be.
They're Jews. Sorry. Gene and Paul are both Jews. I mean, I want to throw that out there, dude, but you do know that, right?
Again,
I'll go listen to their sermons. They seem a little afraid to come see us.
Have you invited them?
Why?
You invite them?
Sure, come to the show. Have a good time.
The kids, for the most part, are ignoring all the commotion and have been going to the Kiss concerts for the same reason they go to any concert, to hear very loud rock and roll.
They're not out here for any Satan worship. It's just rock and roll. That's all it is.
That's right, man.
He works in the devil, so I don't worry what they do.
Dixie Watley for Entertainment Tonight.
And remember when Entertainment Tonight was like a little podunk, like UHF show? So this was like, I mean, there's a bunch of this shit.
Outside Market Square Arena tonight had no plans of going to the Kiss concert. They were there to try to intercept teenagers on their way in, to pass on religious tracts and
Yikes.
warning.
It's obvious in this particular band's Kiss, K-I-S-S, Kings and Satan's Servants.
Excuse me, asshole. What was that?
Band's Kiss, K-I-S-S, Kings and Satan's Servants.
Kings and Satan's Servants. Dude, this was your one shot. This was your one. It's Knights in Satan's Service, not Kings in Satan's Servants. I don't even know how you would get the kings in the servants. I mean, if you're going to insert a chess piece into your body, the king is not that in the. I mean, you're going to go with the bishop first, clearly.
They're not ashamed of who they stand for.
We don't have problems with anybody. Some preachers have problems with us.
The Kiss tour, which began in late December, is the first in 3 years. But in several cities so far, the band has encountered protests from parents and preachers. The group in Indianapolis was small tonight, but offered the same criticisms.
The words behind the music that they're singing is satanic, and it's suggesting these kids to do things and that they wouldn't normally really want to do.
Actually, there is nothing, as a lifelong Kiss fan, I can tell you, there is no lyric in any of their music that I, as a teenage boy, it wouldn't have occurred to me to do without them. Yeah, just put it that
Band
way.
members, however, have their own assessment of speculation about their act.
I guess there's some people who like to see their names in the newspapers, so they figure the best way to do it is to stand on soapboxes and hide behind religion. I don't think they represent anybody except themselves.
What does Kiss represent?
By the way, I'm starting to think that Paul's from New York.
They say their goal this tour, as before, is simply to give the loudest and perhaps most outlandish rock and roll performance.
Yep. So, just making it abundantly clear that this whole cancel culture thing was not invented by the left, in quotes.
Who would stand up to them. I mean, even in our own day, in North Korea or communist China, of course, they cancel anyone. But in America, we have constitutional rights, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of the press.
Freedom to rock and roll!
Didn't think it would happen here.
Freedom to stand on stage and face makeup and yes, those kind of freedoms, I agree.
Now, throughout history, people have always opposed God. People have always blasphemed. There are people who didn't like Christians or what we do, but at least they let us worship as we wanted to. Now we're being canceled. They're trying to stamp out Christianity, and I believe that the ultimate goal of cancel culture is to stamp out Christianity itself, which is And I believe it's moving the country left. It's moving it towards socialism and communism. Communism is always atheistic. And I see myself as a Christian journalist.
If communism is atheistic, then all the religions are in equal danger from it. Communism is not specifically anti-Christic. It would seem to be one of those moments where you might want to bind together with other religions and point out those facts, but then it would mean you'd have to be tolerant.
On the wall trying to warn people, because most Christians have seen all of the things that have happened in our culture in the last 50 to 75 years, and we thought, well, you know, we can live with that. These people will leave us alone. Well, they're not. They're coming after us in a way that we never saw before. And it's not just
how
Christians. It's really any conservatives or people with traditional values. But I think Christians are being targeted, and it's only going to get worse. We saw what happened during COVID.
Your lack of morals is going to be a problem, obviously.
Chapter in Guide and Cancel Culture on COVID and how they said the church was not essential. Right now, it's a health issue. What are they going to say?
It's going to be a screen grab. I'm going to be in so much trouble.
That the church is not essential, and try to tell people they can't have church.
During a fucking pandemic, calm yourself. You can pray alone. Most of the most honest prayers happen when you're by yourself dealing with the tragedies and difficulties of life. You make money off this. That's why you're freaking out. You can't pass a plate to everybody in the room and guilt them into giving you money if they're not in the fucking room. And you didn't find a way to figure that, like during Zoom calls and shit, to cover that for you, or make sure that people, you know, especially the older folks, knew how to use Venmo or things like that, ding ding, to make up for it. And there's nothing wrong with a church using donations to keep themselves afloat. But that's why you're bitching.
In Pasadena, they were levying fines of $1,000 per incident per person. It would have been in the millions of dollars. Thankfully, the Supreme
how much is a human life worth to you?
Court struck it down. But this is just an example of how churches are canceled. And then, of course, it comes down to the individual basis. A lot of people have had things taken off of Facebook. I have, for example. It's been fairly minor compared to...
Yeah, just the occasional N-word, just, you know, your dick pics, your run-of-the-mill preacher stuff.
Lindell or a lot of those people, but it's here and it's real, and we need to stand strong.
Okay, so in here, you said stand strong before it's too late. And you quote a stat here I'm going to read. 64% of Americans believe cancel culture is a threat to their freedom. Where is God in all of this? What can we take from this type of environment? First off,
Well, if God exists, it exists in all things, everything. And your responsibility is to find it in all of that. Hal looks nothing like Gene Simmons. Is that a thing? It's the tongue. And for some reason, because I have long brown hair, everybody says I have Gene hair, which I don't. Thank you. His is way curlier. I have Ace hair, if anything. Thanks very much.
Tell me, how do we stand up?
I wouldn't mind having Gene or Paul hair, mainly Paul hair, but I've got Ace hair. Let's just be honest.
Watching, they want to know, well, what do I do to stand up to cancel culture? Get mad and throw a fit? Is that what I do?
Yeah, that's what Jesus would do. Just put the you got to drive the cancel culture out of the temple.
Well, there's a lot of different ways. The first thing is when they come at people and object because you haven't backed Black Lives Matter or you haven't this. I mean, look at these big corporations like Coca-Cola and Delta. They got mad at them because they wouldn't back Black Lives Matter. They wouldn't vote against that, or they wouldn't object to that voting law that was passed. And they caved. They absolutely caved. Most people, when they're attacked like this, will cave. They'll apologize.
He's talking about the removal of the All-Star game, I think, from Georgia. They didn't cave. They recognized the pressure from the public. They recognized it was better for them. Ace uses herbal essence. It's good.
Move to the left. They'll do something to appease the people. We can just stand strong, ignore them. We actually still have rights. We have not lost yet. But it's like what they call a tipping point. If you're sitting in a four-legged chair and you lean back, you can kind of balance for a while, but if you lean back far enough, you get to a point where you can't right that chair anymore.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I agree.
We're close to being there. You can also speak up to people when they say rude things to you about, well, you shouldn't bring God into it or something like that. Be polite, be Christ-like, but say, hey, you do not have the last say. Your opinion is not the final word. It's valid to be.
Well, it oftentimes is, though. Because I say stuff and then there's no response afterwards.
Christian. It's valid to believe that men and women can actually get married and have children. You know, nowadays, people who say if you believe that, you're homophobic.
No. There's nothing wrong with saying men and women can get married and have children. It's when you go, gay people shouldn't be allowed to get married and have children. That's the homophobic part. Dum-dum. You're leaving the only part off of your statement.
Who would have thought 10 or 20 years ago that we'd get to this point? And it's going to get worse unless we stand strong. A lot of pastors, a lot of churches, a lot of Christians are just timid. In fact, someone told
something about the meek inheriting the earth or something may have fucked with them.
this week that cancel culture cannot exist unless there's a coward culture. And I think that that's right.
Yeah,
I agree. As a Kiss fan, fuck you.
It's a good point. Lance,
Bon Jovi, November Rain. That's Guns N' Roses is November Rain.
In here, we talk about cancel culture, and you hear what
it's Lanny Walnuts and Mario sitting in the street in San Francisco.
Steve is saying. I think all of us, to some point, have experienced this in the last year or so, being canceled to some point.
Yeah, and I think it's great to be a little bit more abstract about what's really happening.
Yeah, don't be specific. That would be then people could cut it down.
Here, I remember I was in Jerusalem. I had to fill in for Chuck Pierce at a
who hasn't? Fucking Chuck. If he ever shows up for one sermon in a row.
Conference during the Rosh Hashanah, I think it was.
Something like that.
And the first mistake I made was I said I'd fill in for him before I flew home.
Yeah, that's a mistake. Definitely. Never even try. It's just, those are big shoes to fill.
The second one was I had to fill in for him on the Hebrew meaning of the Hebrew Rosh Hashanah year. It was 5777. Now,
yeah, but Lanny this is Lanny Walnuts, everybody. Lanny, you've never let not knowing what the fuck you're talking about stop you in the past.
Never studied that. To me, it's, I wasn't sure about the theology of it. A lot of Christians do, a lot of my friends do. But I started looking at the meaning of the Hebrew years and what their symbolism is. That was the year Donald Trump emerged. And I predicted, I said that 777 is the word Zayin, is a sword. We are going to be in for the era of the clashing of swords. And it's going to be the war of words. And it will be between principalities and the kingdom of God, and utterance is going to be the main event. The Antichrist is a little horn.
Is what?
A big mouth, and the final.
Oh, so Trump, a little horn with a big mouth. That pretty much describes him. Little orange horn, like a bugle, basically. Remember bugles? They're salty and they're good.
God in Joel is the voice of the Lord goes before the army. We're not just having a discussion about cancel culture. We're having a discussion about spirit realm talking through human beings.
Yeah, this isn't about cancel culture. This is about speaking in tongues. Come on, Lanny Walnuts. Start going on.
Have to be
like
filled
a baby
with the Holy
Ozzy.
And have tongues of fire. That's the only way you're going to deal with it.
And Mario, I like what Lance
Tongues of fire. Tongues of fire. Where have I seen? He's calling on people to have tongues of fire. There we go. Let's see. Whoops. Let's see. Breathing fire. Tongues of fire. Where have we heard tongues of fire before? just saying, he goes the extra mile. But tongues of fire. Anyways, you were saying Lanny Walnuts? Thanks, Valiant.
You know, in fact, before Mario, go to you, I want to bring up this. You know, we talked about this the other night. This is
a piece of paper.
The National Archives, talk about being canceled. Who would have thought that the National Archives slaps harmful content warning on the Constitution? There on the National Archives website, you say, well, what do they want to know? Well, look, here it is. What is harmful and difficult? It may reflect sexist, racist, albiest, xenophobic.
Albiest? Yeah, anybody, albiest. All right, I'm not going to take any shit about saying Lanny Walnuts anymore if they can't say ableist. Reflect racist, sexist, ableist, misogynistic, misogynoir, xenophobic opinions and attitudes, be discriminatory towards, exclude diverse views on sexuality, gender, religion, and more. Yeah, it's from the
Opinions,
past.
attitudes, discriminatory towards or
Please don't read on. Is it discriminatory against illiterates? Is that it?
Diverse views include graphic content of historical events as violent death. I'm just jumping around here. Medical procedure.
It doesn't include all of it, asshole. The Constitution describes natives and non-whites as 3/5 of a person. That's what they're talking about.
Disasters demonstrate bias and exclusion. You know, this is the whole thing, Mario, of what our nation was founded upon. And here we are, we're coming up to Friday, which is Constitution Day right here. And yet, right there at the National Archives, they're trying to cancel it.
That's right. And here you are sitting in the middle of the street in San Francisco with a strange blue penis pointed at your face, Mario, with absolutely no irony. Tell us what albiest is.
Well, what's happened at the National Archives, in the teachers' unions, in the schools, is everything has been infiltrated.
Uh-oh. They're everywhere.
Individual who probably wrote that warning to try to frame the document as being all those things, which is a total lie, is a plant. They're there for that purpose. They were put there for that purpose.
Dun, dun, dun.
So the answer, and this is really important, folks, is the spirit of fear. Because we have got to get rid of the spirit of fear.
And the way we get rid of the spirit of fear is to make people aware of the threat.
I'll tell you the fear, number one fear, is that our finances or our future or our money and security is going to be taken away if we oppose cancel culture.
Huh? Everybody opposes being canceled. Ask anybody who's been on a television show. But you don't get canceled just because you oppose cancel culture. You get canceled a lot of times because you're a bigot in your personal life and you do something grotesque and then you are falsely pious about it. If any of these assholes can get canceled, quote unquote, from stuff, it's because their own followers have turned on them. These assholes are getting canceled for not being Trumpy enough.
We got to remember this. They're actually asking us to renounce our faith. It's not about America, the flag, taking a knee, the NFL, Coca-Cola. It's about renouncing our faith.
How?
And once you frame it that way.
They really want you to be afraid. You know, they're trying to manipulate you with fear. And the reason they're trying to manipulate you with fear is that they're trying to destroy Jesus.
Get a glorious sense of purpose.
Thanks, Christina.
I will not agree with you. I will not agree that this document is about all of those things you said.
That's fine. It's only for people who are triggered by it. It's basically trigger warnings. If you don't need a trigger warning, don't worry about trigger warnings.
I will not agree to letting my job be taken away without a fight.
Well, it's an audience. You get canceled. Nobody gets canceled from anything they don't have an audience for.
For instance, the spirit
nobody is getting canceled from Burger King.
Back is going to be dominated by faith. Now, we talk about being word of faith. Well, word of faith is taking on a new form in this hour. It used to be we're going to believe God to pay our bills, to get us a car and a job and heal our bodies.
Is that what we used to believe? I thought we were just that there was some sort of divine path for our life and that shit was our responsibility. What am I like, Lord, give me a car and a job? I'll be over in the corner masturbating. Let me know when the keys are in the driveway. Fuck the hell? What?
The word of faith, folks, is taking on a new form, because here's what it's saying now.
Okay.
Devil, you will not control my future and my life. I will not let you get me fired, canceled, or in any way sidelined from the purpose of God. I believe that if you look at Paul the Apostle.
Well, then that would be the temptation to do shit that would get you canceled, right? If you're talking to the devil, he's the one who's going to, like, you know, I could do blow off this stripper's navel within earshot of my my ex-wife's new boyfriend, who has a camera phone on him, and that might negatively affect my ability to run a church. But get thee behind me, Satan, and you sniff the coke. I'm sorry.
See a man who was determined, whether he was in jail or whether he was out, whether he was rejected or accepted, kept moving forward. He said, I am bound, but the word of God is not bound. I think that the work that God does in us tonight is more important than anything else we could possibly say. Can God make us so tenacious, so optimistic and full of hope and faith and determined
that we can scare the shit out of our viewers into giving us money?
Like the heart of a lion to say we will not be canceled. Then these people that are plants and are individuals that have been put there by the devil will suddenly...
I didn't realize the devil was actually putting people there. I thought he was kind of inspiring the worst internally in people, but now he's actually shuffling around and inserting people into the matrix.
They lose their authority. And I really believe this with all my heart. It's what I'm living right now. It's the miracle we're watching in New York, in the western state of New York right now. Nothing of a miracle of God overruling cancel culture.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what's happening in the middle of New York. I don't know what he's referencing.
But it takes more forms. And Steve, I'm going to come back to you. But first,
since you're trying to sell a book about cancel culture.
You know, this was Larry Elder, as we know, Newsom, the race there.
The race there? Larry Elder is running to defeat Governor Newsom in the California recall election, become the first black governor. He was attacked by a masked agitator, same hatred, different era. Lanny Walnuts put that out.
Was attacked by a masked agitator wearing I guess a monkey mask or something really weird.
I'm a gorilla, you fucking clown. If anybody's watched Silver Streak. And I would like, by the way, to know who this woman is. By the way, I do not support what she did, nor do I know anybody who does. Just gross. Seriously. Especially nobody who watches this show. Don't throw shit. Don't strike people. Don't do any of that stuff. And certainly that's just gross. But how much you want to bet that this would be this could absolutely be something somebody concocted? It was Trading Places. Thank you so much. I don't know why I got stuck on Silver Streak.
Same hatred, different era. I mean, this is stuff that we've lived through once before. Fox News posts L.A. County Sheriff Larry Elder, victim of hate crime caused by woke privilege. And you see the same person there coming after the sheriff. You know, Steve.
So what? Arrest her. How is it woke? How does that qualify as woke? It's violence. That doesn't qualify.
The book is very well timed. Cancel culture.
Yeah, to make money.
It's what we're dealing with. What is the one reason I should go out and buy this book?
Because if you don't know how to read, there are words in it. You could learn how to put them together. Foreword by Mike Lindell. Holy shit.
Well, that's a good question. It's because, like the sons of Issachar, we've got to be able to discern the times. And you're not going to discern the times watching the media, that's for sure. And you're not going to hear about it in a lot of your churches. I try to...
Yeah, fucking churches, am I right?
Story, not just from one point of view. This is more than being canceled on Facebook because of a tweet or something.
Sure.
This is a culmination of all the stuff that we also call wokeness. I could have called the book God and Wokeness. It was
but I mean, that's so wokeness is so like 3 weeks ago, bro.
My way to bring everything together because they're trying to cancel us. And God has plans and purposes for America, even in all this. And he has given us the power of the Holy Spirit. The church.
Well, then why does he need a book like this to make you think about it? I mean, why can't he just I mean, obviously, people could be optimistic and inspired to just go out and do good in the world, and it wouldn't even come up.
Needs to stand strong and not be intimidated, not back down. And I'm trying to help people to understand that.
You're doing a great job.
So I interview a lot of experts, Mario being one of them. He gave me
Oh, but you said experts.
Picture about hurricanes of revival, and I talk about how all this stuff is actually is separating the wheat from the chaff, to use the term in the Bible.
Yeah, getting the lazy, shitty Christians out of the way. Yeah, it's Dr. Strang.
People cannot be lukewarm Christians anymore. There are good things coming from this. And whether or not we're heading toward one world government, which we are, and the
No, we're not.
Time, which we are.
No, we're not. The end times are not going to happen while these assholes are on the planet. I'm sorry to tell you. Like, no man shall know the hour nor the day. Only God shall know. Even the Son doesn't know. It's Mark 20. What was that? Mark 25. But this asshole wants to tell you he knows when the end times are coming during his lifetime. If he says so, that's a no.
God has something for America still to accomplish, and we can't be passive. We can't back down. And my book will inspire people.
Yeah, we don't want to inherit the earth.
To understand what
Matthew.
Going on, hear what other Christian leaders are saying, because it's not just my opinion. It's very well documented. I'm a Christian journalist. And then there's hope. There's hope. Because all things...
Yeah, there's a fold out. There's a centerfold in the book. There's definitely
work
hope.
Together for good. That is God's word, and it's true. In Hitler's Germany, it was true. When the Romans were trying to stamp out Christianity, it's true today. We cannot lose hope. We cannot withdraw. We've got to be forceful, and we are dealing with spiritual warfare. We don't war against flesh and blood. You know that. That's the scripture. But we're dealing with mighty principalities and powers, and we who believe in the power of the Holy Spirit need to take our spiritual authority, and I try to bring out the spiritual side of this, not just the cultural and political side.
Well, yeah, because you got to sell it as a Christian book. If you brought out too much of the cultural and political part of it, it would obviously not qualify as a religious book, and you have to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve Strang.
Jesus Christ. What a weird way to go out on the show tonight. These folks, we've had a lot of broadcasts today. I did a morning show, and then I did Stuttering John show, and then I did this show. It's been a long one. I do want to say that this back and forth about woke and cancel culture and the kind of catchphrase of the day, and right now Millie's the target, that will fade this weekend. It will be Millie who, somebody will ask for him to be called to speak before, the National Security Council or something like that in the Senate or something along those lines, or the committee rather in the Senate, and it will gin that news up again, but this will fade as well. This will right now the right wing is just flipping out, trying to find something to sink their teeth into, and none of it is working.